What's up, Nerf Herders? Welcome to Take One Movie Reviews, where all reviews are done in one take. What better of a movie to have a first review for than the Avengers Age of Ultron? This is my second most anticipated movie of the year. The stakes are so high for this. We've waited through all of Phase 2 to get to this moment, and it's been 3 years since the Avengers, if you can believe that. So the film kicks off, all of our heroes are already together, and that was an aspect I really liked about this movie. We didn't have to spend the first 45 minutes to an hour getting the band back together, explaining how everybody, crossed paths and we got to come back together. They do a nice job without having to fully explain why they're together and leaves you enough to figure it out on your own. So really like that a lot. The general story to Age of Ultron is, Tony Stark wants to create basically an AI that can protect the Earth, because after going up into the wormhole and, experiencing the events in the first Avengers, he realized, whatever else is out there, it's too much for us to handle. We can't be the ones continuously fighting these wars, because one of these days we're going to get taken down, Thanos, and, he wants to create this AI to protect everything. Well, of course, Captain America has different ideas about that, which you can see a little bit of butting heads, where you can see might that, come and play for Civil War. But essentially, that's where Ultron comes into play. So that's a general story to the whole movie there. So it's basically, we must destroy what we tried to create, essentially. Now, of course, with an Avengers movie or any Marvel movie, you want some really kick-ass action and top-notch effects, and there is plenty of eye candy to go around. The special effects for this movie are absolutely through the roof, and there is so much amazing action in this movie. Now, the only thing that was slightly disappointing for the action, not that any of it was less than jaw-dropping, I just felt like in the Avengers you had a lot of those moments where you just completely lost your mind. And, I didn't feel like this movie had as much moments where I wanted to jump out of my seat and just applaud for what I was watching, even though it was amazing to look at. But speaking of the effects, we got to talk real quick about this Hulkbuster versus Hulk scene. I don't want to get into anything specific or spoilers with it, because I feel the trailers, really kind of showed too much of that already. Because it was a huge marketing ploy for the movie. But I'll tell you what, it definitely delivered. The scene was awesome, and I could go back and watch it 100 times over again. And speaking of the Hulk, just the way that they did Mark Ruffalo in this movie, he looked amazing as it was in the Avengers, but there is so much more life to the Hulk in this movie. Just unbelievable. The motion capture was unbelievable. Let's get into these new characters a little bit here. The three in particular being Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and Vision. One thing I loved about the addition of these three characters is they did not feel shoehorned into the movie. They each had a purpose in the plot and the story, and there was relevance to their characters being there. So that was really nice. I was a little worried that there was going to be too much thrown into this movie, where it's going to be, discombobulated and nothing was going to make sense. Well, they did a really good job. Props to Joss Whedon for bringing that together. I gotta say, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch really kind of stole the scenes they were in. There was a lot of focus on them and their powers that you got to see a lot of, and I thought they were kind of the scene stealers for a good portion of the movie. Vision was awesome, and I like that he was slightly limited in the movie, but I'm looking forward to seeing more what Vision has to offer. Paul Bettany is perfect for that role, and yeah, definitely love Vision. So speaking of the new characters, we definitely got to talk about Ultron, who is, our villain of the movie. All the trailers really kind of pointed towards Ultron being this very menacing, sinister, bastard of a villain, and I don't feel like they explored his ideologies as much as they really could in this movie. Ultron looked amazing, he was very menacing and physically imposing, but I really felt that that dark, sinister thing that I thought we were going to get from the trailers, and just, more of a brute force, they didn't go too deep into that. I was really hoping to see the Avengers kind of meet a match that was too much for them, and there weren't any moments in this movie that I felt like, there was no hope for the Avengers. I always kind of felt like they were right up there with Ultron. It was more about getting around Ultron's scheme than actually defeating Ultron himself. So that was slightly disappointing, but maybe they're saving that for the Thanos battle, because then we'll see Thanos really just kind of, take everybody apart. Surprisingly, Ultron had a lot of humorous scenes in the movie too. And, with any Marvel movie, you got to expect some humor now. And Joss Whedon is really good with blending humor, with, action and drama and stuff, to where it's not pulling you out of that scene, kind of the same way James Gunn did Guardians of the Galaxy. And Joss Whedon does not disappoint. Plenty of great humor in this movie. Some of it felt a little bit stretched. And, again, just like in the Avengers, I felt there were some humorous moments in that movie that weren't necessarily meant to be humorous, but you have that burst of emotion that just flies out, like when Hulk grabs Loki and starts smashing him around. It's humorous, not because it's made to be funny, just because you get that burst of emotion. It's like, oh my God. There weren't really humorous moments like that in this movie. It was a lot of just dialogue humor. Some of it kind of fell a little bit flat, but for the most part, a lot of good humor. Another thing too, the movie felt a little bit disjointed in parts. There's scenes when certain characters, disappear for a little bit, just show up out of nowhere. Stuff like that. A character's in one scene, and then the very next cut, he's completely somewhere else. So little things like that where it felt like maybe the editing was creating a little bit of some choppiness there. Not too big of a complaint, but it was a little bit noticeable and distracting for some of those parts. And the ending of this movie, I really enjoyed it. It definitely sets up Phase 3 and, brings us into what we can expect for stuff possibly in Civil War. So I really like where they went with the ending. It was not what I was expecting. And yeah, absolutely. So we got to talk about this mid-credit scene too, which I'm not going to spoil at all. And if you have not seen the movie yet, do not go reading about this mid-credit scene. Just go watch the movie. It was phenomenal and just pushes everything further to where we want, Phase 3 and beyond to go. So it was a really, really exciting mid-credits scene. That's pretty much it though, guys. The Avengers Age of Ultron, awesome movie. I really enjoyed it a lot. I still think the Avengers kind of has a little bit of a notch on it because I think the rewatch value in the Avengers is a little better than Age of Ultron. But plenty of eye candy to go around, great characters, plenty of superhero powered stuff. I mean, it's an Avengers movie, So, really good stuff, guys. If you have seen the Avengers, leave a comment down below. What did you think about it? Did you like Age of Ultron more? Do you like the first Avengers more? And what's your favorite Marvel movie to date thus far? So, thank you guys very much for watching. If you are new to the Nerf Herders podcast here, make sure you subscribe. Check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/NerfHerdersPodcast. That is all I got for now, and I'll see you guys soon. Until next time, keep on Nerf Herding.